stream is 18 plus, and often we go into very mature themes, and we'd like you to interrupt and comment. Give us some meat that you might want us to pull apart.
Yeah, there's nothing too taboo for it. I just hope you don't get offended easily. If you do, this might not be the stream for you.
I'm venussx, if it's your first time on this stream. Oh, today, apparently, it's a public holiday for us, down under. And apparently, it's the King's birthday.
In the UK, it is a King's birthday, our new King Charles III.
Anyone who follows those guys, the royal family. Yeah, so Australia
That's right.
and whoever else follows them.
And the Commonwealth.
So, we have
all the European countries in the Commonwealth. In Africa, there's a lot of colonies in Africa too. Yeah.
But that's not because it means things aren't open, and it's actually just frustrating. The King's birthday, who cares really? They just put it at any date. They just choose a Monday to make a long weekend.
It's not Charles' official birthday when he was born. I don't know. It's all complicated. Whatever. Anyway,
I don't know.
Let's move on. There's a subject that I find it quite interesting. I don't know if you want to maybe talk on that, because it can be quite complex. The thing about relationships, that any kind of relationship, friendships, love interests, just a friend with a girl or with a guy, or like a platonic friendship or a romantic one, even a professional relationship, stuff at work and all that, we all as humans, and even other creatures, other animals, they feel too. It's just, I find it interesting because jealousy is such a complex subject, and there's reasons for it, and there's ways to handle it, and you do know quite a lot about that, because I think you do run courses and then you help people kind of deal with it.
Yeah, it's a complex little bag. Jealousy, just one feeling. There is like many different emotions that hang under the umbrella of jealousy, is the way I see it, and so identifying which ones are the ones that sort of you tend to notice and work with the most is important. So having some awareness of okay, where is that coming from? I am, currently producing an online course. And I thought the first topic I'm going to work with, which is my pillar 1, is dealing with jealousy. For the reason that you said, Lilybit. It's a complex. It is not only present in our sexual relationships. It's sort of something that can sometimes look like other things like competition or insecurity, or it can sometimes be something that occurs more in a colleague situation where I might compare myself to how successful they are, for example. And that doesn't help me because I feel like shit and I stop doing what I want to do. And so, I teach how to turn that around and find actual approaches that work for you by trying different techniques.
I agree with you with the jealousy being such a complex subject. And like you say, it does have the connotations of the feeling of feeling jealous, but then you feel guilty for feeling jealous as well. So it is a really, really complex.
Yeah, I think that I learned a few things about myself by obviously practicing these ideas of how can I combat jealousy. I think an aspect of it occurs for most people. Some people don't have a big issue with it.
Even animals feel it, creatures feel it as well. You see your dog, sometimes you've got 2 of them, or you've got a cat, but then you give an affection to one of them, the other one will overreact and will be like pushing the other one aside. And, so it's not just
what are we doing about
thing,
What do we do about it? So we've just talked about it for 5 minutes. Okay, so where do we start? Like, which point do we start facing it and like unshackling ourselves from the chains of it? Because sometimes that feels like chains, like it's heavy, this place. So where I would start is I started to understand that my jealousy and all of the other emotions that are under that really came out of my own poor self-concept, like my concept of myself. Yes, if you think about it, that's the origin. The bottom is how I view myself and my place in the world. And so I have poor self-concept. That means I don't have a good attitude about myself, or there's areas where I don't feel as confident in those areas, and I find that's where my jealousy stems from, and so it requires me to go back, back with myself to change those self-concepts to look at what's the reality, because often it's a concept that is perhaps from the past or perhaps from a really wounded place. But if I look at it with my adult eyes in reality and look at what skills and my abilities are, then I can turn it around a little bit and have more confidence in myself. And then jealousy doesn't touch me as much. So that's one approach, is work on your self-confidence, and your accurate assessment of your worth.
Yes, because at the end of the day, I think jealousy is fear of the unknown, of not knowing what the situation that you're at it means. You know? So it is, at the end of the day, it's a type of fear. Oh my goodness, I'm lagging really bad. I don't know if I'm freezing. What a bad day. The king's birthday really ruined it for us.
What a stupid idea. So, Who decided to do this on the king's birthday when everyone's at home and all the kids are on their games? Australia internet just does not handle it. Oh, it was her.
I'm sorry. It was me. I didn't know it was the king's birthday.
Okay,
I thought it was a normal Monday. Because it's Monday for us in Australia.
Is about fear. You were speaking about fear, and it's definitely one of the.
I think so. I think it's fear of the unknown.
Yes, you could say that. So, how do you combat fear of the unknown?
It's about trying to understand, like you say, what's making you feel insecure. It is, at the end of the day, it's a reflection of how you feel about yourself. Because someone who's very confident on themselves, the way that they handle jealousy is very different. It's not to say that just because you're a confident person, you don't feel jealousy. You do feel it. It's how you approach it, how you handle it that makes a difference. I think the more you know yourself, the more you're confident on who you are, the easier it is to kind of rationalize and kind of dissect what this jealousy is about and get to the core issue. That way you can actually fix it or deal with it in a positive way.
Yeah. And I think part of the process is that I have to vulnerable to admit that I am feeling these things. Sometimes I might just, no, I'm feeling this, or I shouldn't be feeling this. The reality is you are. So having taken some time to sit with yourself. Writing can be really good sometimes, and seeing if you can identify some of these different emotions. For example, we have insecurity, which we've already started. There is also some other things that look like jealousy though too. My needs are not being met, so I'm like in lack and loss. So I start to scramble and look for the love, and there's blind anger is probably like one of the strongest forms of it. It's like, and blind anger is when, you're unable to deal with the fear of the unknown, as you said, Lilybit, unable to deal with the fear of the unknown. So we sort of go into a place where we shut down our heart and we're unable to speak our truth. And the result is, because anger is what shuts down our heart. And then if our heart is shut, we're unable to communicate effectively with our partner or our friend. So the ball starts rolling from the fear of the unknown and not being able to just cope with that. And
another ugly side of it too, I'm sorry, we've got a bit of a lag, so sometimes it looks like we're talking over each other, but that's because of the lag. But another thing, jealousy as well, that makes it very complex as well, that it can actually be used by people as a weapon and to manipulate you. If they are aware of your insecurities, they'll use them. It happens. It can be used as a weapon, which is sad. You've got to be very aware of that happening to you.
That's not cool.
So that way you can actually respond properly.
And it can be like a bit of a heavy topic, but how can we lighten it up a little bit? Is there a role play that we could do? Oh, that's interesting. It'd be cool if we could perhaps have a role play or something that we could demonstrate so that we get this practical advice here. But see if we want to line up some type of role play that shows where do you start with jealousy.
I must admit, I'm not very good at role play because I'm not a very good actress, I don't think. But I can give it a go. But you're right. Yeah, it is practical. It is useful to do a role play. So yeah, I should embrace it too. Practice makes perfect.
And yeah, of course, it's important, as you were saying, people using things as a weapon against their partner. I mean, that's just not cool, and we need to be aware if we are doing that. Yeah, like, maybe I want to see, maybe I have felt this before, actually, now that you talk about it. I want to see some type of reaction or response from my partner to show me that they want me or love me. Yeah. And I think that's where some people can get caught in that. So I might act in a way that stimulates them to, I don't know, act in a way that shows me that they love me. It's a twisted idea, but if you're jealous, then that sort of indicates that you want me and love me. Some people have that twisted concept. So I think to identify that and to cut it, like to stop that type of behavior really early on. Yes.
Yeah. It can happen between friends. It can happen at work as well. A boss will actually play two workers against each other and use jealousy to kind of make them sort of outperform each other to get better, productivity in the
results.
But it is an ugly thing to use, and unfortunately, everybody does it. It's knowing and being aware that that can be used against you, that helps you kind of protects you in a way that knowing that this could happen to you, not from a lover or your husband or boyfriend or your best friend, it can be at work as well. If you're aware that your insecurities can be used against you through jealousy, being aware of it, it's half the battle. It's knowing that, oh, wait a minute, am I being manipulated because I might not feel confident on my role, and this boss is trying to kind of make me feel jealous of my coworker, to make me work harder than I really need to, or kind of like just to manipulate me. So then you need to kind of learn how to cope with that, without overreacting. Because that's another thing. You can't call people and it says, "Oh, you're just trying to make me jealous because you want to use me." You can't do that. You can't call people out on, So you need to be smart about it.
Yeah.
It's a very complex
Well, you may
thing.
need to call people out. May need to call some people out sometimes, but I think what I'm hearing you talk about, Lilybit, is more about being the awareness with yourself of the areas that I do want to build more confidence in, and making efforts to do that, so that we feel more grounded. Yeah, we feel more resourceful. We have our own resources. And there's a practice that I teach and use myself all the time, is to actually tie your fibers, to be centered in yourself. So in your dantian, which is this place 2 finger widths below the navel, so center of our chi, life force energy. So it sits here in the dantian, and so I would drop my awareness down to that base, and I tie my fibers. I would have to explain a little bit more, perhaps for you to understand what I'm saying, but my energetic fibers means my energy that it is, I'm communing with you right now a little bit, and I'm communing with your energy too here with my fibers. They're invisible. They're what gives us all of the information from the world. And so if I can learn to tie them around my body, tie a knot at the front, and hold more of a collected space, if that makes sense. And when I do that, I'm not influenced and contaminated by other people's games or energy, or things that are moving in the space. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
It's something I
don't know much about that, but it makes sense. It definitely does. Like, in my case, what happens with me over the years, I've come to realize, listening to other people talk about it, about how sometimes certain people can feel emotions stronger than others, and for in my case, it used to confuse me a lot that I would go into a room, and for no reason at all, I would feel like angry, and then I would feel sad, and I would feel happy, and I would feel confused, and like all these emotions that were last, and I was like, oh, I must be so crazy that I don't even know what I'm feeling. But then after listening to other people talk about empathy, it thought that I am a little bit of empath, which means that I'm like a sponge. I attract other people's emotions and I feel them. And it's knowing that they're not your emotions, they're somebody else's. So
yes,
meditation is very good for that, to actually ground yourself and understand okay, what I'm feeling right now, it's not mine, it's somebody else's. So sometimes even a jealousy emotion, if you're in a situation, it could be that you're picking it from somebody else, you're picking it up from somebody else. But I'm kind of going into a different altogether. But what I'm trying to say is that the more you know about yourself, the more you know about yourself, it helps you understand that what you're feeling is either your own emotion or somebody else's, or it could be that by meditating you kind of center your energy a little better, and then you're able to sort of cope with that emotion that it might be yours, but it might not be. I think
Okay, so how do you work that out?
About the energy? You know, like I said,
and also though, in the present moment,
recently that I'm an empath, so now I know
so
that if
in
I'm
the
in an actual
moment,
room
though,
full of people, I'm sorry.
Our delay is so great. I need to remember to do this.
It is.
What do you do? But what do you do in the moment though? So you're talking about meditating at home or having time where you have more self-awareness. But I'm talking about when you're in the moment, when you say like that, you walk into a room. What can you do in that moment in public that helps you to tie your fibers and not be as open to everything that's happening in the face? So there's two things that can work here. Meditation for more identification of where is my energy boundary, is sort of what you're saying a little bit. You're talking about identifying where is your edge. Oh, it's gone into freeze mode. Yeah. So I see with this channel here that there was setting changed, and it says, oh, she's left. This channel is no longer in followers only mode. Do we have anyone here that is watching that can test if you can comment in the chat? That would be great. Yeah, we've got someone on the stream. Okay, cool. Commenting is working. Yeah, we've Trek. Hey, welcome back. You're always here, 3 girls and 1 mic. Trek 17. Are you over 18? No, I know who you are. Hey, so we're talking about jealousy earlier, and Lilybit froze and she's out here. So I'm going to check the stream comments here. Okay, yeah. Trek says, I find that jealousy can kill a good relationship. Well, yes, definitely. It's actually, that's why I call it an enemy. Because it isn't our friend. It doesn't help us. Well, it can help us in the sense of being a warning light, like a warning sign on the dashboard of your car, for example, that does say, hey, you need to pause and check in with yourself, have some real communication with yourself and other people, or identify where this is coming from and stop it before it ruins your beautiful space that you've created with this person. So I think you're calling it out, calling it an enemy and approaching it that way is, let's say, more of a shamanic approach. I have been studying a different approach to managing and balancing and controlling my emotions. And this approach actually brings us to looking at our chakra system, the energy system in the body. In Sanskrit, chakra means wheel, and so that's referring to these wheels of light and energy that we have in the midline of our body, from the base right up to the crown. And so a whole other approach to jealousy is looking at our crown chakra and what that's about, what that means, and what blocks that chakra is jealousy. So jealousy is the enemy of the crown chakra, which is the energy center here at the top of our head. So that's the energy center that connects to our dream, like to what are we here to do? What's our passion? What's our mission? And jealousy shuts that down. Think about it for a second. So when I'm jealous of someone else's success, or if I, feel insecure about my, I don't know, my skills in a space, then that actually blocks me from doing what I want to do. Like, it stops me in my tracks because I'm focusing on what they're doing, not on what I'm doing. And when I switch that around, I sort of learn to go, okay, well, so I'm jealous. That's because I'm focusing on what they're doing. So can I bring focus back to myself and look at what's my dream, or what are my goals, you could say. And what is one goal that I could put energy into, like feed energy into my goals and see what happens. And so when I tried that, I practiced it. When I was feeling jealous of my colleague over here and whatever was happening, I brought the focus back to, well, what am I doing in my career? What am I doing in my personal life, in my professional life? And saw that I wasn't doing anything. So I have to put energy into that. And it worked. It worked for me. I found it turned it around a little bit. And I was not focusing on the jealousy. I was focusing on what I needed to do to be successful, or to reach that goal, or to express my desire. So that's one totally flip approach dealing with jealousy. I have that in my online course, which will be available for you soon. So yeah, it's one girl, no mic today. We've got Lily. Girl, invite me please. I'm back. Oh, we need to invite her. She's stuck out. Oh, okay. When you switch your status over a little bit, I'll be able to invite you. There you are. No, I still can't. She's locked out. We've put her in the corner. I think she needs a little bit of discipline.
Here.
It's been like late, jumping out.
I'm here. I made it.
Yes. Okay, so we have we've quite a few things today. Late, your headset was not charged. You're disappearing.
It's the king.
Disappearing on in the middle of a. Oh, you're gonna blame the king. Okay, she's blaming the king. I think that some discipline is in order. I'll think out whether there's something that we.
Do I need a spanking?
Well, I don't know. That's what I was just thinking. It depends what type of discipline is necessary here. It may just be some homework for you to do to make sure that you're organised next time, or it might need to be something stronger for you to learn.
Oh my god, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you've left me here. One girl on the couch, Cynthia mute today, no mic, and a bottle of mayonnaise. And
a bottle of mayonnaise. Did you get excited with a bottle of mayonnaise again?
No. I actually moved the bottle of mayonnaise over too far away from me so that I can't grab it accidentally. Yeah. So it's out of reach. So we did a little we did. Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Is
That's
working.
The technology. It's all of this. Everything was blue.
Then technology instead of okay. So we need to change the statuses back. We need to. So we put something there. What have we got?
Did you see the chat?
We have Trek. Yep. I have the chat.
Okay.
That's cool. I saw your messages eventually a little bit. I looked.
Oh, that was good. That was good. That you were
yeah, Trek was just thinking about how jealousy ruins relationships. So that's obviously why we're talking about it and why we need to deal with it. When we have a mic, that'd be something we could do. Is like do a little role play with Mike. You know?
Yeah, that would be good. That's what we need to make, so we can do some role playing with Mike.
Anything exciting happen in your week in VR?
I haven't been on VR because, as you know, I came out of hospital not so long ago. So I have limited my time in VR at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm stronger, so I'm going to get more often onto VR, like I used to, because I do like to explore.
Cool.
And I do miss my friends as well.
I've been missing you
a lot. But yeah, I'll get there.
Yeah, cool.
This is a slow process, but I'll get there.
Yep.
So are we still talking about jealousy, or have we moved on to kinky punishments?
No. Kinky punishments. Yeah, okay. I think that sounds like a great segue. Kinky punishments. Yeah. How would you set up? How would you set up a kinky punishment role play? So what I noticed, the way Lily, you gave me like you sort of gave a suggestion, and so that's obviously the first place to start is being ready to give an offering to your play partner. Tell them something that you maybe are curious about or do know that you like. I say what I mean by offering is like she did say, oh, I need a spanking, do I? That's an offering, and then you can either take it or not take it or negotiate on the offer. So I say, yeah, I really think that you need a spanking, and then in a way there's an implicit consent. It's really to get explicit consent. So then I would say, okay, you like that, do you?
That's it. Yeah, it's about asking the question in a sort of light-hearted way, and then
I went to reply then. I actually started asking you.
You know.
Well, you gave it I'm going to take that offer and ask you. So do you like that? And you're talking about spanking in the sense of hand on the skin, or using some type of implement. Spanking is normal, just raw skin, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I've only seen it in the movies, you know. I mean,
which movies?
I've only been spanked in VR. I've only been spanked in VR.
Okay.
I must admit, but not like in the real world. And not really. No. It's there's been
Did
kind
you
of
enjoy
things
it?
where they're like a little sort of pretend spanking, but I wasn't too sure, to be honest. But in VR, I must say, yes, I did, because no pain involved. It's just the imagination of pain, a pain that is pleasurable, because you convince yourself by using your imagination that this sort of pain is going to be kind of pleasurable as well. And because I have read some books on bondage and stuff like that, and watched the movie, that typical, the 50 Shades of Grey. I read the books, I watched the movie, and there's other books that I have read as well, where that kind of sort of pain, punishment, kind of. It's not real pain. It's sexual pain, which is different, very, very different. It's interesting. But like I said, I've only experienced it in VR and in my imagination.
I just want to talk about that. That's really fascinating. You say that. So sexual pain, you say, is different to what? Some type of thing. And why is that? Is that because you're aroused? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Or is it because the intent is to bring a more sexual stimulation into the space?
Exactly. Definitely. Yeah. It's an sometimes, I mean, I know it's completely off topic, because sometimes some people they're so upset about themselves, or they're so emotional, traumatized, that sometimes they cut themselves. And the reason they cut themselves is to feel something, to distract them from the emotional pain. So they go into physical pain, because that will take away from the emotional pain, which is maybe harder to deal with. And physical pain is a little bit more, it's not as abstract, it's physical, it's real, you can deal with it. It's like, oh, it hurts because it's here, because I cut myself. But emotional pain is more abstract, so it's really hard to heal it. It takes a lot more to heal emotional pain. And I think sexual pain is kind of that way. It's not physical pain that is very controlled and very sort of lineal. Sexual pain is more abstract. It's a little bit of physical, but at the same time, that sensation gives you pleasure as well. You know, like when you have ice cream and it's too cold, but still enjoying it. It's like, oh, this is delicious, but oh, my brain hurt. But it's kind of like that. You know, it's cold at the same time. It's complex.
Yes. Yeah. I think I've explored that. You know, that line of when is pain included into the play actually enhance experience, and that is you only really learn your limits and your boundaries by starting to explore in the space, and you can do that by having agreement with the person that you're going to play with. Like what you said, there's almost like a container that we set up, and it's a bit regulated. So it's not just like, oh, you're going to do whatever you want and hit. It's actually going to be, no, it's going to be done in this specific way. I want to lean over your lap and be wearing this particular outfit, for example. Or the role that you have is, what's an example of a role that we play with here? Spanking. Well, you could be my teacher, and I could be your student. Ooh, that's okay. We could go into that one there.
Yeah.
What's another form? What another role?
That's a bit.
Okay, give me another one then.
I can be you're the boss and the secretary says scenario. That's kind of somebody in power. It's usually that's what the teacher and the student is kind of one way that, I mean, it's not politically correct nowadays.
Yes.
But it's basically someone in power over someone who's
not politically correct.
Yeah, but the doctor and the nurse, and I'm not talking about female, because the doctor could be a female and the nurse could be a male. Nowadays anybody can be anything you want, but it's about the role, being in power, someone who's your boss or has more authority than you do, and then therefore you have to kind of submit in a way, kind of become a submissive in a way.
Yes. So getting back to how do we negotiate that, I find that it helps in the negotiation if I have an idea of the role that I'm playing. So in this case, with this example, Lilybit gave me the offering of, thinking that'd be interesting. And so then it would help me if I was, okay, well, where do you imagine you are, or who are you? Is it a discipline sort of scenario, like you've done something wrong and this is your discipline? Or is it that you just like the feeling of bending over with your little skirt on? And it's playful. So that if we decide that, then it gives an idea of how far we're going to go, and we agree, well, I don't really want to be in lots of pain. This is an example. But I don't want to deal with lots of pain. I'll let you know when I've had enough. But I'm really curious to explore what that's like to be so exposed to you, and you're in charge, and you are teaching me, let's say, or showing me where the line is. That's
and I mean, it is different for everybody, like you said. But like, in my the way I am, my personality, what I find is, because I'm an odd thinker. I can't help myself. When you're like thinking of 2 steps, I'm already gone the 10 steps and came back twice, and look at maybe different exits on the airplane, and like I overthink everything. It can be quite painful sometimes. Anyway, so what happens to me if I'm in a situation where we're doing a bit of role playing kind of thing, like, oh yeah, spank me daddy and all that kind of stuff. I don't like, if there's no foreplay, I don't like to come down. Okay, we're gonna do this. Here, I'll bend over and you just spank me. That to me doesn't.
No.
I'm not really in the mindset. I'm not aroused enough, because I find that would only work when you have been building the arousal. It's like steps, you climb ladders slowly, and you get to the point where the sexual tension is so high, and you're just about to burst from the sexual emotions and feelings, and that you've got. But sometimes, this is what my mind thinks, a little bit of spanking is a kind of a way of releasing the sort of sexual tension. It's like, the pressure cooker, and when you lift the little lid thing to let some of the steam out, it kind of is like that. You have to be aroused. If you lift that little valve thing on a when you're cooking something, it's not hot yet, nothing will happen. It's like non-eventful. It's like, well, why you even bother? you need to build that first. You need to build that first to get that steam come out, so that there's a purpose for it. So spanking for the sake of spanking, then no, that's no sexual spanking. That is a real spanking, with pain. So that doesn't. It actually works the opposite way. It turns me off. So it needs to be done slowly. Build it up, boys. Don't just go in and like, oh, come on, let's go and do it. No. Wait a minute. Let's build it up. Take your time.
That's what we're talking about. Foreplay and those steps of like the little build blocks. Stepping up to the arousal and knowing that you've created the safe space, the safe space between you, the agreement. But for me, it's the role play is what actually works for me. It gets my imagination going. It puts me in a space, and like you're saying, where I'm gradually building this tension of the story. So for me, I really love the story. What's the and you might provide some of the story, and then I provide some of it, and together we're building this tension towards this peak, you could say. And I love that analogy that sensation play is what I call it, or impact play we're talking about. So you have impact either with a hand or a whip or an tool. I also just call it sensation play because it's just playing different sensations. Yes. I like exploring both of those. But impact play, can do that. It can like awaken your skin, a whole different set of nerve and as well that enhance the experience. But for me, it's more about I'm a little bit sadistic. I was in the past, and I actually found almost a joy and a pleasure in being able to withstand some pain for my master in that moment. So maybe not everyone is masochistic, but if you can identify that, there's this element of like, I'm going to prove to you my loyalty, I'm going to prove to you my submission by accepting a little bit of pain, then that in my brain, it's a psychology in my brain that turns me on. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And because in my case, as we established in previous talks, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I don't like to lose control. I need to always be aware of what's happening, and I don't trust. I've got trust issues. Yeah, that's true, and that's where my control issues come from. I don't trust anybody. So, like if you're driving a car, I'm sorry, I need to watch what you're doing, and I need to know what you're doing because it's just the way I'm wired. So if I get to the point where I'm so in touch with this person, that is aroused me to the point where the feelings are so overwhelming that I kind of want to let go of that control that I'm always having, and it's kind of a break for me, a relaxing, like, oh, I'm just gonna trust you completely and let you take control completely, and whatever you want to do, I'm gonna just trust you and be okay with it. And if that means a little bit of pain, I'm just not with the flow. When I get to that point of that level of trust, it's amazing. Then sex is like mind blowing.
Best, yeah. That's true. Mm-hmm. Because you're actually letting go, and sex is the best when we let go and have experiences where we surrender totally to the space, to the energy, and not necessarily to the person, but surrender myself to the space and the erotic energy, and really let it flow through me, without capping it, not putting a lid on it. But yeah, trust is a whole nother thing. Trust is interesting actually, because in a way I can only trust in spirit or the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, and I can't really trust you ever. Like, ultimately, is what I mean. I'm talking about an ultimate concept of trust. I can never trust you. You're a human and I'm a human. All I can trust is my connection to nature and the spirit energy.
And the
So
situation that's happening at the time, yes, that's what you're trusting. You're trusting. It's like riding in a horse carriage, and you've got this really wild horse, and you got the reins, and you do not let go because you know that this horse is wild and it can be temperamental. So you don't trust anybody with it. That's me with my emotions and my well-being. I've got this horse that is crazy, and so I need to control it. That's why I don't trust anybody. But it gets to the point where you're with that person enough that they kind of make you feel so in touch with you, and there's a seem to the way you like, they make you come to the point that you say, you know what, I need a little bit of a break because these reins are too much to handle. I'm gonna give you the reins to the horse and trust you for a little while, not forever, not for now on. You're not gonna be like a master forever and ever. Just for this ride, I'm gonna give you the reins for a little while, so I can just relax and enjoy the ride, and trust you to do the right thing. That's how I see it.
Okay, but hang on. You said untrust you to do the right thing. Okay, how does that happen? How do you get to that place, Lilybit? Just because it's not just trusting that they'll do the right thing. There would have to be a lot of communication prior to that for them to even know what you like and where you want to go. Yeah. So
Exactly.
there isn't just this blind trust in this person that they're going to, what did you say, do the right thing. No, you actually need to talk about it and have an agreement around what they want to do too. What's your desires? It's not just about what I want. Can we meet in the middle somewhere? And if they demonstrate that, I think they have to demonstrate that they can follow the agreement a few times before I'm able to trust and really
Exactly. It's about
it.
levels.
So there's
in a way, it is a game. It
needs to be demonstrated.
You reach exactly. So you can't do the spanking role play kind of thing, or the submission with a one night and someone that you just met in a bar, or like that sort of stuff, or someone that you just met for the first time and you go on a date. I don't think I wouldn't. Because of my personality. Okay. There's no way I would relax enough to be able to enjoy it. I might go there for peer pressure in a way, like if I like the person and I'm like I really. But to be honest, I've been in situations where I'm with someone I've just met in the real world as well in VR, and it just leaves me icky, like I did not like that at all. Because there was no trust, because there was no connection, and that's what I mean by connection. To me, a connection is that I trust you enough with my well-being that I allow you to have the reins for a little bit, even if it's just not. I'm not talking about just spanking, just trusting you with my conversation. Telling you my innermost secrets or desires, or like open myself up to see, look, this is who I am. I don't do that with everybody. It's difficult. So that's why these sort of games, so like the spanking, a lot of it is just talk, just talk. But to actually go there, it does require a lot from me, to get to know that person. Not a stranger. Definitely not a stranger.
Cool. So do you think that VR spanking then is something that is like a step, something that helps you to start exploring the idea of that in real life? Or do you just have to keep it in as a VR experience? It's a bit of fun, it activates your mind, and that's all that feeds you, like that satisfies you, that experience, VR?
Well, I think with everything, I think it can. I agree with you. I think eventually you become familiar with the emotion and what it all means, and the game in a way that eventually you kind of throw, I wonder how this would be in real life, and then you might actually venture into it in the real world. But like even in VR, to me, playing like that with a stranger, even if I know that is VR and I'll never see that, still the connection has to be there. But you're right. Once you practice these games in VR, eventually I think it becomes easier to maybe take it into the real world, and it may a whole new level of emotions. which could be quite exciting.
Well, that's what I'm curious about. That's why I'm starting to run events and workshops in vrchat, because I'm curious about that. Could you explore something that you haven't before in a VR immersive experience, and either just go, okay, that was great, that expanded my mind, my imagination, and I had a connection with this person, and leave there. Or you can either do one-on-one coaching with me, but our group coaching allows you to get interactive in the sense of practice these things, so that if you want, you can take them out and make this agreement with a stranger, for example. So I'm a bit different to you, Lilybit. I think that it is possible to meet a stranger and make an agreement that we're going to play a certain way, and it's just about whether I'm able to communicate my boundaries well enough to feel safe, and then you could have fun. But I hear what you're saying as well. Connection with someone is what you can do in VR with different types of people, so that you learn about yourself. I mean, I think what's cool about VR is you can just experiment with different things, with different types of people, and at minimum, you learn a little bit more about what you want, what connects you, or pleasures you.
That's it. Yeah. And it is. That's why I like VR so much, because it is in a safe environment, especially for women. Nowadays, I'm like, I don't go out really to bars and places like that, because I'm terrified of getting roofied, You go there for the drink, you gotta, even if you're with girlfriends and somebody pops something into your drink, I've got nightmares about it. Like, no, thank you very much. I just rather not, I'm very fearful. I don't trust people. I've got trust issues. I really do. I know that, and I'm very aware of that myself. Yes. And I'm working on that. But it does take time. So because I'm not comfortable trusting people at the moment, I just play it safe. And VR provides me that safety net, knowing that I can play, I can maybe talk to strangers. But funny enough, even though I know it's VR and I know I'm safe, I can just take off my headset. I will confess, I did actually sort of have to hook up with someone, a stranger, in VR. And you know what? It just didn't work out. I mean, I don't regret it, because it's better do it here than in the real world, for sure. You're safer here. But it went through the whole options, and the person was very nice. But at the end of it all, I was kind of, I felt very kind of icky, and like it just didn't work for me at all. It just didn't. And that's when I come to realize that for me, it's very much an emotional connection that I need. It really is. Because of my trust issues.
Okay. It's really cool what you're talking about today, because what you're exposing to us is that you have this awareness about some of, you call them issues. You have this self-awareness, and that is the key, really, is to just have more self-awareness about what does trigger us, or what we really like, or what we don't like, and being able to say yes really enthusiastically, when you want to do something with someone, and how to say no when you just clearly, it's a no, that's it. There's just no questions. And then also, though, learning to open up to the maybe. The maybe is, oh, yes, maybe if we can, do its way, or can we do it for only this length of time, or can we start slower? It's about self-awareness. And the fun thing is that, it's fun to learn about yourself when you do it in this fun game way where we explore communication. That's it. How to just say what you want. And if you want
exactly
to get what you want, you have to first say what you want, right? You have to be able to ask for it. To be vulnerable enough to ask for what you want. And what I mean by that is in lots of different areas, not just sexually. Yes, there's sexually. Also, what I want, or what I desire, my emotional connection with you, and what I want in terms of the type of relationship that we agree on. If you can't see it, then you won't be able to get it. That's something I've learned.
Because anyway, it goes from, like, although we are talking more about a sort of relationship, like a romantic relationship, or even a sexual relationship, all of that at the end of the day is communication. And once you start practicing on one, you can't help but kind of learn on how to handle the other areas, like even at work. Be able to talk to your boss and know what you're capable of and how far you would prepare to go.
And negotiate.
Like
your boundaries.
Negotiate, like your boundaries. Like if you're getting paid a certain amount of money, you're not going to go and do more work than you really agreed on your contract, and people will take advantage of that. So learning boundaries is very important, not just romantically and sexually, but in other aspects in your life. And this is a good way of learning them, because it does trickle down to the rest of your life. It's about yourself.
Totally. So
it's
boundaries.
About you.
That'll be a good topic next time. Like, what does boundaries mean? Well, I think it's a common statement that we say a lot. State your boundaries. But maybe we could dive into the next 3 girls and 1 mic. It's like, what are boundaries? Or like, what do we mean when we say it's so important to know your boundaries? How do you know them? Like, how do we get to them? And how do I state them when I need to? I don't know, maybe that's something that we could explore.
Yeah.
What do you guys
Definitely.
reckon?
Because it is important. I think, we should. It is very important, because it doesn't just start with asking the person, hey, tell me what your boundaries are. Tell me what are you prepared to do. You can't just do that. You need to actually ask that to yourself first and say, what about me? What is it that I want? What am I prepared to do? What is it I'm after? And what I'm not prepared to do? Because once you know that, then you can ask the other person, because you now it's not good saying, hey, Venus, can I spank you? Well, maybe I don't want to be spanked. So I can't ask you that if I don't even know if you want to do that. So it's about the communication of knowing what it is that you want before you commit to communicate that kind of thing with somebody else.
So how do we do that? How do we know ourselves? I think sometimes we learn our boundaries through actually interacting with people, just learning on the job, so to speak. Learning as we do it, that, my boundary, I don't feel comfortable now. Okay, why not? That's because I wasn't clear enough for that boundary. Or, that's because I've allowed myself to let go in that place. Okay, I learn how to next time be clear on that boundary. Or just know more clearly within myself. Because really what we're talking about of contracts. Like, the first contracts that we have are with ourselves.
It's verbal contract.
That needs to be first. It has to be the contracts, abide by the contract I have with myself. What is good for me, my boundaries, and not hurting myself by having loose boundaries.
Even knowing where your boundaries are. Because if you don't know how far you're prepared to go, and then all of a sudden you find in the deep end, and it turns out you don't know how to swim, you can end up drowning. So you need to know what is my level of how much I can cope with emotionally, and then say, okay, this is as far as I can go. If you know that, that's your boundary. It's not good saying, let's push the boundaries to whatever. And that's why my trust issues are. I found myself, when I was a little younger, into situations where I found myself in the deep end, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I drowned for a few times. So that's why now Do you mean emotionally or sexually? Emotionally.
What are you
emotionally.
referring to? Emotionally? Okay.
Emotionally, yeah. Emotionally.
Yeah, okay. And I think that's one of the hardest, is one of the hardest areas almost. To have balance and control in our emotions enough that I'm able to identify what my boundaries in this relationship or in this situation are, so that we don't drown. Yes. Because our emotions is the water element. And one analogy that I think is really important with emotions is that we want them to be flowing, because if they're stagnant, that becomes unhealthy. We want them to be flowing, but we also don't want the emotions to be like smashing down the banks of the river and just like flooding the whole town,
banging against
and killing
the rocks
everybody
and things like that. Yeah.
So there's somewhere in between, and that what I've been learning is that there's a want the river to move and the emotions to flow, but I need to also know how to have balance with that and have boundaries. in a way, the boundaries can be like the banks of the river that guide your emotions, you know, in a balanced way. Yeah.
Yeah, but what about you're in, like, you know, those canoes that the single, I don't know, kayaks? Is it the kayak they call them?
Yeah.
And you're going through a river. When it's a nice, peaceful river, those are the emotions. When they're nice and gentle, and you're able to coast with them gently, and like, oh, this is comfortable. But like, if you don't know your boundaries or your level of expertise, you can find yourself in a river with the that are like rapids with rocks everywhere and all that.
Rapid.
You don't know how to handle this jacket. You end up banging on the rocks, and you end up down, almost drowning, because you find yourself in a place where your level of expertise is not adequate. That's why you have to have boundaries, and you have to know your own boundaries before you know anybody else's. And also, very important, you need to know that the person you're with, you need to know their best, because you might take her into one of these rapid rivers where they drowning, and you're like, oh fuck, you know, I'm gonna be responsible for damaging this person emotionally because I took them too far, you know, and they didn't even know how far they wanted to go. That's why you need to ask the questions.
Yeah, good points. And all of these things that we're talking about today, actually, some of them are quite heavy topics. So if there's anything that you find that you have pain in some of these areas, that's where I help people. You know, where I can coach you or teach you some techniques where you can actually, find some solutions to some of the pain in these areas that we're talking about. Like becoming more confident with yourself to start with. And what you were speaking about something then, which was learning the emotional, learn how to express your emotions, but also not to be over expressing. I think there's some type of balance that we learn there with relationship, is that what's mine, I've said it before, what is mine to care for, what is mine to do, we need to learn that, and what is not mine, because what you're feeling and what is happening for you is not mine to look after. I will listen to you, of course, and I'm in agreement, be with you, but sometimes identifying what is not mine to look after is really important, and it helps us to clarify what's happening here in this situation. What's mine? You got to come back to what's my responsibility here, what I'm responsible for, and not take responsibility for your stuff. But that's how I help. I also, coach to move through those types of difficult meetings.
Yeah, because sometimes if you don't really have the expertise and you tend to rescue someone who's drowning, but you don't know how to rescue people emotionally, we're talking, you could end up drowning yourself along with them as well.
That's not a good idea.
Mess. So that's why sometimes you have to pick your battles. You need to pick your battles. You need to know what you're doing before you actually even go there. So it's all to do with know your boundaries, and it all comes down to get to know yourself before anything else. Before you try to get to know someone else, get to know yourself. Because if you don't know who you are, how do you know the person with is the right person? If you don't even know yourself, it just doesn't make sense. If you're a square,
there are so many layers.
A triangle, it's like, it's not going to work. So you need to know who are you.
You can make a fun.
Oh, I'm a square.
Lego.
Well, yeah, you can actually. That's true. Yeah, different shapes can actually intertwine with each other. But knowing that, oh, okay, this person is a triangle. It's not really a square. So for us to work, maybe you have to turn this way, and I'll have to kind of work this way.
Exactly.
Because we're slightly different, and you have jagged, pointy bits, and my jagged, pointy bits don't quite align with this. But you need to know who you are, and then you need to know who are they, and then that way you can work together. But if you haven't got a clue, you think, oh, I'm a circle, but you're actually a square, and you're trying to go with a triangle, but that triangle happens to think is a star, and you're like, why is this not working? That's because you don't even know who you are.
True. So I think we're coming to the end of this stream for today. Our fifth episode of Three Girls, One Mic. So fun to be here with you and talk about these taboo topics and intimate spaces. I'm venussx, and I would love you to join me on Discord and continue the conversations there. So our mission is that you actually find true potential, discover more true potential. That's why we're talking about all this stuff, is how can we actually discover more about ourselves so that we're stimulated and invigorated to ask questions.
That's it.
So,
Yep. It's all about asking questions and finding the answers. Yes, a little bit. It was very nice to have you here, and I will hope to see you back, guys. Now, some questions on the chat, or you can always contact Venus in her Discord and send your questions if you will be anonymous and you want something answered, but you're not maybe brave enough to actually say who you are. That's fine. You know, you don't have to. You can just send her a message and say, I want to be anonymous, but I would like answers on this and that one. I'm not an expert. Cynthia's not an expert. Venus does what she does, but we will give you our opinions, what we think. You know, that way you'll get 3 different points of view. And at the end of the day, you take a little bit of everybody and you find your own.
Yeah, cool. I'm just loving this, being able to interact with you. You don't have to come to VR, but we're also able to enjoy the intimate space here. So yeah, Cynthia, thank you very much for your amazing camera angles and streaming today's Sexin. You never told me that.
Sexin.
From the beginning. Sexin. Okay. Okay,
Sexin.
cool. I've been calling you.
Is a producer. Okay.
So this is us in the little piano bar.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week. They might play.
Okay, bye everybody.
Next week. Better practice.
Bye.